Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us as we jump into it. Here we go. Here we go. The youth hunt is this weekend. The Liberty hunt is this weekend. Bear season is open. Small game season opens. The early goose season is open. Teal season's open. Can we say that the fall hunting seasons are rocking now? Now, it's not, right? It's not October 1st. It's not the general opening day of bow season, but the fall hunting seasons are here in the great state of Michigan. How cool is that? Good luck on your hunts. Good luck on your hunting adventures, your experiences, your activities. When I say good luck, yeah, if you can harvest something, wouldn't that be great? But if you don't let that diminish the experience. The experience is the experience. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's the experience of getting out there on the water, in the woods. That's the experience. If you take something, it's just a bonus. If you do take something and you want to share it with the world, please send it to me, send a picture to me or video in an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Don't send it to me, please, on a Facebook message because I can't post it. Send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. If you have a kid involved in that post, please put the hashtag #ForwardFuelsTraditions, and if you don't hashtag it, I will. You could win a $50 gift card to the Forward convenience stores. Now, let's talk a little bit about pictures. And this is something that I have been saying for the last several years. The Michigan Wildlife Council is now jumping on this as well. In today's world, we need to be cognizant and aware of how we portray ourselves. Now, you and I both know that as hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers, we are stewards of the resource. We are the people who pay for conservation. We are the ultimate conservationists. But we need to let the world know that, because in today's world where social media is so accessible to everybody, it's no longer like reaching into your wallet and bringing out a picture of your buck and showing your buddy, right? That's a one-to-one interaction. In today's world, how do we share pictures? We post them on our social media feeds. When you do that, that content, that picture becomes available to everybody. And you might say, well, no. It's only my buddies who are on my Facebook page. Yeah, but it's available to anybody. And if the wrong person shares it, it takes off, and then the wrong people see it, and they don't get it. So my plea, it's my suggestion is, in today's world, and I'm not bowing down to the antis here, okay? Don't take it this way, because I will never bow down to the antis. Ever. But the vast majority of people out there in Michigan today, the non-hunters, not the antis, but the non-hunters, and they see how we post things, it creates an image, it sends a message. So, please be aware when you take your pictures that a lot of people, and you post them. If you're not going to post them, okay, but you're going to post them. When you do that, please be aware of what you're showing. By that I mean, if it's a waterfowl picture and you got some blood on the animal, the bird, and you're going to, just wipe it off, right? If it's a big game picture, if it's a bear or if it's a deer, will you please take 3 seconds and put the animal's tongue back in the mouth? I have seen so many pictures, beautiful pictures. A smiling person sitting over a beautiful deer with a wonderful background, a lot of colors, and the deer's tongue or the bear's tongue is hanging out the side of its mouth. It looks like a cartoon character, and it makes us look like bloodthirsty idiots. Take the tongue and push it back in the animal's mouth. Please. It's not a big request, but it makes a big impact. And again, because in today's world, we reach so many people on social media. Speaking of that, last weekend I had the wonderful experience of being in Grayling for the unveiling of the Fred Bear statue. I didn't know what a big deal this was going to be. I didn't know there was going to be so many people there. I didn't reach out to the powers that be and tell them I was going to be there ahead of time or anything like that, so I was right there with the rest of you out in the masses, right? Wonderful day, nice cool day, kind of a windy day. The crowd was wonderful, great people. The Nuge was there. He did the Star Spangled Banner. He did the national anthem ahead of time. If you want to see that, go to my, believe it or not, my TikTok feed, because that's the only place I could put it. And I'm going to put it on Facebook too. It was cool, very cool. And then he did Fred Bear. How cool was that at the unveiling of the Fred Bear statue? Now, I wanted to get video of that unveiling. I get there. There's already like 1,500 people there. The crowd swelled to 2,000, 2,500. Now, this ain't my first rodeo, right? I know how to move around a crowd. And because I'm so tall, I get a little extra advantage. But the reason I know how to move in a crowd and look for the best video angles and the best light is I spent many, many years in television news. So I'm looking at that. I'm going, okay, am I concerned with the video from the stage? Nah, not really. What I want to get is the video of the unveiling of the statue. So I'm looking at that. It's on the other side of the crowd. I got to work my way over there. There's a fence surrounding the statue. It's covered in a black shroud when I get there. I'm looking at that going, okay, what is the best way to capture this? If I go around and get the front of the statue, I'm going to be looking directly into the sun. Well, listen, as a video guy, as a photo guy, I don't want that. The best light would be from the backside of the statue. I don't want that. I don't want the backside of Fred as they unveil it. So I settled on kind of on the side view. But I had to work my way in there. I had to kind of move around and kind of, I don't want to say sneak my way in there because at my size, you can't sneak your way into anything. But I moved around to the side, okay? Best compromise. I'm right there. The statue's right in front of me. There's nobody between me and the statue. There's good light on it, but it's kind of the side of the statue. Okay, it's the best I can get. So I'm leading up to this. In today's world of social media, like, I've never had anything reach the number of people as fast as the video I shot did. It got 1.8 million views in like 24 hours. 1,000 comments. 26,000 likes. 2,500 shares. So how cool is that? Now, when you start reaching that many people, you start reaching some real idiots as well. That's part of the deal, right? The more people you reach, the more idiots you're going to reach. So there was a lot of weird comments on this whole thing. Now, some of them were just ignorant, and I don't mean ignorant in a bad sense. I just mean they were uneducated. Like a lot of people saying, who's Fred Bear? And it got me thinking. In today's world, there is such a disconnect. You and I, Fred Bear, the father of modern day archery, Fred Bear, revered. I was blessed to have met the man. Check out my video of Ted Nugent doing the Fred Bear song on YouTube. So I am keenly aware of who Fred Bear was. Most of you are keenly aware of who Fred Bear was, but I got a bunch of people saying, who's Fred Bear? And some real nimrods, why are they unveiling a statue of Jed Clampett? Again, that's the disconnect I'm talking about. So I use that as an illustration of why we need to be careful what we put out there these days. But anyway, it was a wonderful event. It was very cool. I was glad to be part of it. I was glad to be able to document the event. I was glad to be able to share it with so many people. And if you haven't seen it, check out my Facebook page, check out my Instagram feed, or just go anywhere online and do a search, do a Google search for Fred Bear statue. And there was a bunch of people there shooting video, and it was a very, very cool event. Another cool event that's coming up on a smaller scale, probably here, this Wednesday night coming up. We're going to do a Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. We still have some room. If you'd like to be there, I'd love to have you. I would love to see you, but you got to call for reservations. It's not going to cost you anything other than your meal. I'm not buying dinner for you, but the Lumberjack has great food. Call 989-343-0892 for reservations, or just do a search for a Lumberjack restaurant. If nobody answers the phone, let it continue to ring. A machine will eventually pick it up and give them your name, how many in your party, and give them a phone number so we can confirm your reservation. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show, a guy who I first made contact with on last week's Wednesday Night Live, Jim Hoppe. He was talking about casting for fall walleye. That immediately got my attention. I love that. You don't have to have a boat to catch big walleye in the fall. Jim is going to talk about the subtleties, the nuances, and give some advice on how to do that. Then Ken Dalton of the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative, talking about the fall pheasant season, some cool things they have going on. In our second hour, Rob Miller, the guy who, in my opinion, pioneered the use of tracking dogs to recover fatally wounded deer, talks about how to best use a tracking dog. And is it a cop-out? I don't think so. Chad Fedewa of the DNR on the Michigan elk season and the Michigan elk herd. And in hour number 3, we're talking about bear hunting with hounds, kind of a controversial topic, but I support those people completely. They have the right to do it. They are legal, so they have my support. With Jerod Gashe of Poor Boys Guide Service, and we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you, and I'm glad you're here for this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Matt Smith, Outdoor Realtor. Matt, a longtime friend of mine, a great guy, and he is an expert at finding recreational properties and vacation homes, and he can help your family turn a dream into a reality. Check him out online at Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. That's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. And by the way, if you're looking for a new home as your primary residence, Matt can help you out there as well. These are big decisions, right? Some of the biggest decisions you'll ever make in your life, and you want to work with somebody who is going to work for you and somebody you can trust, and I can vouch for Matt. That's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and on Instagram. All right, so you know I love to fish for walleye, right? I spend all summer chasing walleye out on Saginaw Bay, trolling for them on the angler quest, but I also love the idea of having a rod in your hands when the fish hits. So that's why I love to jig for walleye and I love to cast for walleye. Now, honestly, it's been a few years since I have gone out casting for walleye, but I am No, I did it just last year without much success. I'm fascinated by it because, again, you've got the rod in your hand when the fish hits, and as much as I love my angler quest, you don't have to have a big, expensive boat this time of year to catch walleye. Jim Hoppe was joined us on Wednesday Night Live last week, and he started talking about how excited he was for the fall walleye season because as the temperatures dropped, he could go casting for fish. Boom, that got my attention. And he's talking about how successful he is and the numbers of fish he catch. So I said, Jim, would you send me an email with your phone number? He did. We started to connect, and I thought, this guy is a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, and he is willing to share it. And guess what? He's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jim, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. I'm doing good.
And listen, I appreciate you reaching out on Wednesday Night Live. Tell me about your history with this walleye fishing and casting for him. How did you get started in it, and how many years ago was that?
Probably 30 years ago.
So wow, you've got some experience with this.
Yeah, it's even a lot farther back than that, really. Since I could drive, so that's 32 years.
And why? I mean, what made you? How did you get started? Yeah.
How I got started was there was a salmon fishery back then. Okay, and then we started casting for kings at night, and we were picking up walleyes. That's probably how I got more into it. And then that turned into spring fishing, which the nighttime casting in the spring was where that was where we were catching the fish and when. But it's turned into a fall fishery that's just amazing now.
Now, I'm not looking for your honey holes, but are we talking river fishing or big water fishing?
Any inlet on the bay, anywhere you have structure, anywhere you have a cut coming in from the Saginaw River all the way around to Harbor Beach.
I would bet, though, that you could do this on the west side of the state and even places in the UP, too, where you've got a walleye population, or down on Lake Erie. We know they do it down on Lake Erie. So you are primarily an east side guy, but I bet you could use these tactics we're going to talk about in other places, too.
Oh, right. I mean, I've fished from Oscoda all the way around down to Port Huron. So, yeah, anywhere that has a walleye population, this is going to... You're going to be able to use the same tactics.
Are we talking nighttime only, Jim?
Not necessarily. It does happen during the day on a cloudy day, especially if you've got some wind the night before. It isn't the same, though. You're going to go and cast and pick up a few fish. It isn't. I'm not expecting to go get a limit casting from shore, with the exception being the Saginaw River. You can do it there regularly.
And would you expect if you go out there at night, you're going to catch a limit?
I do, yes.
So are you actually standing on the bank, or are you out there in waders in the water?
Rarely am I in the water. That's not necessary. And I mean, you could do that, but most of the areas you're looking at a rock bottom, and that's not very safe or easy on you to try doing that at night.
Sure. What baits, Jim?
If I had to pick three, I would buy it. It would all be husky jerks in a clown pattern of pink, purple, and the standard chartreuse in a husky jerk 14 centimeter. We're going big like that just to get distance, to throw a heavier bait and get out a little farther. The smaller ones do work. I've casted a lot of bombers too, still in a clown pattern or similar.
Probably spinning reels. Then, if you're casting, you're probably using a spinning rod. What length? What action?
10 foot. I have Fenwicks that I'm using right now. 10 foot mediums, moderately fast, with 10-pound Power Pro. That's my go-to. And if you're using your 7-foot rod that you do everything with, the one thing you can do is switch from mono to the braid. You're going to gain casting distance and the feel. You know when you have a hit versus tapping a rock or the bottom.
So are you trying to get the distance because you're trying to get out to deeper water, or you just want more time with the bait in the fish zone?
More time with the bait in the fish zone, and yeah, it's it depends on the area you're fishing. I mean, I started out, like I said, with that 7-foot, probably a Berkeley cherry wood is what I started when I started targeting walleye. And then the rods got longer and longer out of necessity. First of all, I'm netting my own fish, so you can load the rod up and keep the fish on. 90% of the time I'm fishing by myself because it's a nighttime thing. And I was, before I retired, I was working second shift, so I'd get out of work and just go. And there was nobody around. So that longer rod came out of necessity, and I will never go back. Even throwing jigs during the day in the Saginaw River, I'm using those longer rods.
So
because I have the feel for it.
So you're a middle of the night guy because that was your work schedule. If you go out there now at dusk, because that's when most people go, right at dusk, or early in the evening, is that going to work too?
Yeah. I mean, it's a matter of a pot of fish showing up. They're going to be hungry. If they're there, you're going to probably catch something. It's the guys next to me, maybe not doing everything right, are still catching fish.
So are you moving looking for fish, or do you have your honey holes and you just keep fishing and wait for fish to move in to where you are?
Yeah, I go to a given area for the night. I'm not going to pick up and move from one location physically to another. If I go to a pier, that's where I'm going to fish for the night. And generally, I'm looking for the shallow end of things. It seems to be the nature of the beast. Everybody wants to run to the deeper water, and that can be a mistake.
So how shallow? I mean, so if you're fishing a pier, how shallow of water are we talking? You up in 3 or 4 feet of water, or deeper, probably?
Sometimes a foot.
Nobody else is in there in a foot of water with you, I don't think, Jim, are they?
Yes.
They are. Because they're following you, right?
There's a group of guys that has done it long enough. And they're shining fish. They're with their headlamps looking because you can see the eyes. Which is a problem when you get a lot of people on a weekend. They push the fish off. They will push the fish right off the pier.
So when you make this cast, and we got a time factor here is why I keep pushing it. I apologize for the Jim, but when you make this cast and it hits the water, are you reeling right away, or are you letting that bait sit there?
I'm tightening it up instantly, because you do get hit when that repellent hits the water. There are times when there's a fish under it and it sees that movement and just reaction, it hits right there and then. Probably 75% of my fish are caught within the first 10 feet of the retrieve. You're looking for areas where there's a rock or a log or a weed edge. There's fish there. You're casting right on top of them, and they're gonna. As soon as they see movement, they're gonna hit it.
Jim, hang tight. I got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. I got another segment with you, though, and a lot more things I want to explore. We're talking with Jim Hoppe, who is a veteran nighttime fall walleye angler, but not so much from a boat. We're talking rivers, and you can guess the rivers, right? From the shores, the piers, the fishing piers, maybe out in the big water itself, out in the pierheads. And it's all across. Jim's an East Side guy, but it's all across the state this time of year in the fall, and some pretty big fish as well. I know it's location. I know it's the speed of the retrieve. That's a big factor. We're going to get into that more with Jim Hoppe after the break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. And then after that, we'll wrap up this first hour with Ken Dalton of the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative right here on Outdoor Magazine. hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK, that's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Michigan-based, family-owned Versa Skins. I saw Paul Perone and his wife Lori at the Woods and Water Show last weekend. He was talking about some exciting things there, including the fact that they're making products for big hunters, 4, 5, 6X, also saddle hunters. You can learn more on the website, versaskins.com, versaskins.com. And another exciting thing is VersaSkins is now on Amazon. If you go to amazon.com and do a search for VersaSkins brand, you can buy product right there. It is a concept of why buy a bunch of different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern in literally less than a minute. VersaSkins.com. If it's a cold night out there, I'm going to be wearing my VersaSkins. Cold night, maybe walleye fishing on the river or the big lakes, maybe out there on a pierhead. Jim Hoppe is a guy who's been doing this for a long, long time. He first got my attention last week on Wednesday Night Live, and it didn't take me long to realize what a very knowledgeable this guy is. Jim, we're talking about, fishing the rivers, fishing the pierheads and such, but I know from talking with you off air that the speed of the retrieve is crucial, isn't it?
Yes, that's something you want to. You kind of, if you do have a group of people there, watch what other people are doing. Take time to look and see if the guy next to you is, making one cast and you're making 5 in the same amount of time. If he's catching fish and you're not, slow down, or vice versa. I mean, there are times when you want to be a little faster, but generally in the fall it's going to get colder and the fish are going to slow down. So you want to, go slow. It isn't all about having a perfect action on the bait in the dark. It's just the movement a lot of the time. And I'm going so slow that, I'll look and the guy next to me is maybe making 6 casts to my 1 and he's not hooking up. And this goes with the line and everything too, because you're going to get hit somehow with a 14-centimeter lure with 3 treble hooks on it. You're going to get hit and not hook up. It happens, and you need to be cognizant that you're not hitting a rock, that's a fish doing that, and slow down and let him get it. And it may even take pauses. You may be reeling very slow. You may have to stop and not necessarily jerking the hook, just completely stopping for a second. And normally these are 3-4 pound fish, and when they hit, you're going to know it.
And you said where they hit the bait can also be a key, right? Which hook you end up getting them on?
Right. If you're catching fish on the front hooks, you're in the speed range. If everything you're getting is barely hooked on the back hook, you need to slow down. Or if you're losing fish or getting hit and not even hooking up.
What about, now, years and years ago, and I was telling you this the other day, years and years ago, I used to cast for walleye on the Saginaw River. I'd go down under the bridges, and I would target the line where the light from the street lights met the shadow of the bridge, and that seemed to be a hot spot right there. You also like to use light too, right?
Yeah, that like we talked about, that's structure. It'll hold bait. The bait will lay in that dark spot, and the fish are there feeding on them. I mean, it's definitely, it turns out being like a weed edge. That's another thing I wanted to bring up is all your boat launches. Weeds are a problem just about everywhere. So people launching their boats all summer, they cut a nice channel through the weeds, and those weed edges hold fish. It's an overlooked area to fish, but even your small cuts where there's a boat launch, there's a hole in there where you can cast and not be full of weeds continuously. And the longer you can throw with cleaner hooks, I mean, there's fish there. I firmly believe every cut, even if there's a foot or 18 inches of water in it, you could go out there at night and pick up a few walleye.
When does this start, Jim? Are we? I mean, we're looking for dropping water temps. Are we there now already?
I believe so. Like I said, I was trolling this year within a half mile of the pierheads up around the tip of the thumb catching fish, and I think you probably at night could have caught fish just about all summer. It was never a situation where it got so warm that it drove the fish completely out.
Well, I think this is exciting because, number one, fishing in the fall itself is just a riot. You know, a lot of your people are out hunting at that point, so you don't have maybe the crowds that you would in the summertime. You're going to get big fish, especially as the fall goes on, and you don't need a boat. I mean, listen, I love to troll. That's my favorite thing. But if you can get out there and cast off a pierhead or a boat launch or whatever and just have you and the rod and the fish, that can't be beat. So, Jim, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
And I will be in touch with you because you did make an offer. You said, anytime you want to go, let me know. Well, now that I've got your number, you're in trouble, Jim.
I'll have somebody to net fish. That's great.
I like that theory. Jim Hoppe, I appreciate your time. Good fishing to you, and we will talk again. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. Or he can net my fish. That's what it's going to be. Ken Dalton, the president of the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM and north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Killer Food Plots. I saw Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots at the Woods and Water Show last weekend, and he will be joining us for Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant this Wednesday coming up. I would encourage you to join us, 989-343-0892 for reservations. And if you want to learn more about Killer Food Plots, this would be a great chance to talk with Rich directly. You know, I realize your food plots are probably in the ground by now, right? But Killer Food Plots also has a great line of scents as well that you can check out. Go to the website, killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. All right, when I look at my memories of growing up here in Michigan, you know, deer hunting was not a big part of it, right? It was kind of the culmination of the season, but it wasn't until I got a little older, and we didn't have a lot of deer. What did get my attention was early on in the season, like right now, squirrel hunting, which is overlooked in our state, and then eventually rabbit hunting, and then pheasant hunting. I'm old enough to remember when we had a lot of birds around. Can we reach that point again? I don't know. Ken Dalton thinks we can. He's the pheasant. He's the head of the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative, the website mphi.info, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Mr. Pheasant, welcome back. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. I'm doing great.
So listen, this is an exciting time of year for you, and you got something coming up, don't you?
Yes, we do. We're having a free pheasant hunting workshop extravaganza at Williams Gun Sight Company and Outfitters on September the 28th from 1 to 3 p.m. And our mission is to recruit small game hunters and to bring awareness to pheasant hunting in the state of Michigan. And anybody that would like to come, we're inviting them.
Why is this even necessary, Ken? I feel like, I think I might have alluded to it, but I feel like we've lost a generation maybe of small game hunters and in particular pheasant hunters.
We absolutely have. We've lost in the last 10 years 50% of our small game hunters in Michigan. And that's a staggering number. And then we have another problem that's on the horizon. It's the aging hunter population, and they're expected to lose another 50% at that time of hunters all across the board, deer, whatever, bear, elk, whatever. But what we're trying to do is to recruit a new generation of hunters that can step up to the plate and bring back hunting in the state of Michigan for pheasants and beyond.
Well,
I think pheasants is a gateway bird to big game hunting.
Well, I can't argue with that, but if we're going to have pheasant hunters, we've got to have birds. How is that challenge going?
That challenge is going very well. The DNR, Adam Bump, the upland game bird specialist, is working very closely with the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative, and he's really doing some great things. Last year, we had a problem with hunters not being able to find the parking lots and places where the birds are being released. This year, they have an app where you push onto it, and it takes you right to the parking lot, right to the roads in the area where the birds are released. Instead of driving all over the state game areas looking for it, you're going to know right where to go hunting this year.
Isn't that funny when we're talking about a history of hunting and trying to bring back a tradition? In today's world, we end up using our phones to try to make it happen.
It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. But this year it's going to be a really good year. We're going to have 8,000 roosters released on 13 state game areas. And we have a new site north of Pinconning. There was a place there on Pinconning. It was 50 acres with bad parking. Adam Bump did some research and found a new place on Town Line Road north of Bay City with 100 acres and great parking. That's going to improve the hunting experience for the pheasant hunter when it gets there, which is going to be good.
And when will all of those birds be released? For the opener on October 20th, or is it staggered?
No, it's the opener is going to be, the birds are going to be released, and it's going to be a little bit of overstocking for the opener to make it more successful for everybody. And that starts on October 20th at daylight. And then the birds will be released twice weekly in October, November, minus deer season. And then again, the whole month of December, you can hunt up till January the 1st.
And they're going to put birds out there for the late season?
Yes, twice a week.
Wow. I wasn't aware of that.
That's really great because I don't know about you, but I love hunting pheasants in the snow. When I see a pheasant track in the snow, I think my heart rate goes up immediately.
I think when you hear the word pheasant, your heart rate goes up.
Well, listen to this. Last weekend, I was at Woods and Water Weekend, and it was, if you were there, I don't know, but it was unbelievable. There was 4,000 to 5,000 people came through there, and I had a booth set up in there, and I'll tell you what, my brain is still sizzling. I probably talked to 1,000 people. And everybody was positive about this pheasant program and about the opportunity to be able to go out bird hunting again. Only had 2 naysayers out of the whole bunch. It was just unbelievable.
Well, and because we're out of time here, I want to bring you back before pheasant season to remind people about this. But real quick, remind me about that event on the 28th. What are the details on that, Ken?
The details are we're going to have an overview of pheasant hunting in Michigan, pheasant hunting laws and regulations, pheasant tactics, pheasant cleaning demonstration, which I'm going to give you one personally that's going to make your pheasant dinner a lot better. And then roosters where they're at, game bird breeder report, popular pheasant recipes, question and answer period, raffle, and door prizes. We're going to have a gun raffle and door prizes also.
Williams Gun Site east of Flint on the 28th. What are the times?
1 to 3 p.m., September the 28th in Davison, Michigan at Williams Gun Site and Outfitters.
Perfect. Ken, appreciate that. Mr. Pheasant of the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative, the website mphi.info, mphi.info. We'll take a break. Rob Miller talking about deer tracking in hour number 2.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2. If we didn't laugh here in the studio between the hours, you got to love what you're doing, right? And I am so blessed to be able to be in an environment where I do absolutely love what I'm doing. I'm working with great people, and I could not be happier. This is hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, and I always say this. I think the best way to listen, if you can, is on your local radio station. You get your local news, your local weather, your local sports, even your local ads, your local commercials, your local spots, as we call them. Maybe there's a sale or something you want to take advantage of. Plus, the broadcast stations, my broadcast affiliates, my partners, get the content of the show before the podcast version is uploaded. Now, yes, there is a podcast version, but it's exactly the same. If you listen to the broadcast version of the show or the podcast, the content is exactly the same. But I do, feel a need these days to provide a podcast version of the radio show because podcasting is ubiquitous. It is everywhere. Everybody has a podcast, and so do I. And you can hear it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I put it up on my Facebook page as well. You can hear it on all of literally, how many different podcast outlets are there these days? Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart, SoundCloud, Apple, Google. All of them. I'm on all of them. So however or wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. I do also podcast each month for specifically just podcasts, not radio shows, for some of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle, Primal Outdoors, and Angler Quest. The new Angler Quest, Quest. And in fact, when we're done here in the studio, we will record this month's Angler Quest podcast with Mr. Angler Quest, talking about the new prototype, where that company is going, and when you can expect to see the new Angler Quest Quest available for you to get your hands on. Regardless, though, of how you are listening to me, when you are listening to me, I appreciate it. There's so much going on in today's world. There's so many different things coming at you. Life, family, work, and then you've got all these different media sources coming at you, podcasts, broadcasts, online stuff, live streams. You get bombarded. You get overloaded. You get overwhelmed. I know I do. So the fact that you are hearing my voice right now, sincerely, truly, it does mean a lot to me. I've been doing this for more than 40 years. I have no plans to retire right away. Of course, right? God's plans and my plans are not the same, but my plan is I'm going to be here for a while, and I could not do it without you. Thank you so very much, my friends. I do really appreciate that. One of the things that I enjoy most about this is the fact that I get to talk with interesting people who are passionate, people who are knowledgeable, and people who have made things happen. Rob Miller is the guy I want to talk to right now. In my mind, Rob is the guy who pioneered the use of tracking dogs to recover fatally wounded whitetails. Now, fatally wounded, that's a key topic, a key term that we will discuss more with Rob as he joins me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Rob Miller, welcome back to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, Mike. I'm doing well, and once again, I appreciate you reaching out and having this conversation with me.
Well, I always enjoy it, and I think this is a very appropriate time to do that, as the youth hunt, Liberty hunts are this weekend, and then after that, things get rocking. Bear season, you also use your dogs to recover bears, too, I hear.
Sure do. Yes, we sure do that, yep.
Is the process of tracking a bear different than tracking a whitetail?
Not really, no. It's mainly introducing the dog to the bear. It's obviously, I've never trained on bear scent. So my first bear track, I took a seasoned dog that understood the process of tracking. And when you introduce it to the bear scent, it's overwhelming. The dog definitely has different reactions, emotions. You can definitely tell they're tracking an apex predator. So there is some verbal communication. You got to give the dog like, "Hey, it's okay. You got this."
Yeah.
Actually, you can calm the dog down. It's fascinating. But once the dog realizes, "Hey, this is what my dad wants me to follow," they can track a bear very easily.
And I get the hesitation on the dog's part because you say they are an apex predator. But on that same line, if you were to come up on a whitetail buck that wasn't fatally wounded, but he's in a bed, that could be an interesting situation too.
It's very dangerous for the dogs either way. Yes, sir. Yep.
Have you had situations where that's happened, Rob? I expect over these years you've run into just about everything a tracker could run into.
Yes, we have. Going back when I had Cypress, my dash hounds, and back when the leash laws were required, Cypress at age 3, I believe it was 4, we had a single lunged buck we were tracking, and we got into some CRP grass, and the buck never jumped up until the dog was on the on the deer. And here I'm 20, 30 feet behind on a leash. The big 8-point got up, and he went right into defense mode. He put his rack right onto her and just started pinning her to the ground. Well, then she started fleeing back towards me, and she went to the left side of the autumn olive bush while I was on the right side with the grass. The leash tangled, and the buck was just goring her. And thankfully, it was a very large rack, wide rack, and he was missing her with all his thrush on her. And the law just changed at that time where the hunters could carry the weapon while tracking. And thankfully, Dave, he's out in Durand, he drew his bow, quickly put one through the lungs, and the buck ran off and died. But after that, Cypress was very hesitant on tracking live deer. And it's amazing when the dog was tracking, she knew when that deer was going to be alive. Through the sense, the way the scent profile was, she would stop and point ahead like, Dad, the buck's up there alive. And Mike, I kid you not, 100% of the time, when she stopped and stared into the abyss of darkness, that buck was laying there alive. And those cause problems, through the future tracking with her, having a dog stop. And then I had to go and do some tracking or visual search. So it was really a problem I had to overcome with her, which also is a reason why my next dog, I chose a different breed. But yeah, it's definitely very dangerous.
I think we do have to make this distinction of a fatally wounded animal because, I used to use the term, recovering, wounded deer. Well, if it's not fatally wounded, you're not going to recover it, right?
Some cases, yeah. We have also what we now, with the off-leash tracking, now we have to deal with the crippled deer that have broken legs, shoulders, multiple things that handicap the deer. And there is that gray area or that fine line that we pursuing a deer that's going to overcome these injuries because we have dogs off leash, or is it our job to catch up to that whitetail? We use the term baying, which means the dog is face barking and is holding the deer in position through barking and suffering. So this is a new thing that we're learning to navigate. There's definitely controversy behind it. And, my opinion may be different from your opinion, but at the end of the day, we have to decide as trackers, are we pursuing this deer to ensure that the hunter gets his deer, or are we pursuing this deer to end suffering, or should we stop pursuing this deer because this deer should overcome its injuries and may survive or may not survive? Wow,
that's interesting. The leash law, when they allowed you guys to go off leash, that was a big deal, wasn't it?
It's history making. We're the only northern state that allows this. This is predominantly a southern thing. Texas, even like Louisiana, is not even off leash. So there's a few states in the South that allow off leash, and Michigan is the first northern state to allow it.
For folks who don't understand, what does that mean, Rob?
That means our dog has to be on some sort of e-collar, or your dog is trained to come back on verbal or a sound command. It means the tracker or handler, we call it, has to have 100% communication, 100% control over their dog the entire time. And that allows the dog to be free to cast, track without I call a tether, a leash on them.
That is an advanced tactic. I mean, you got to have a good tracker, a good handler, and a good dog to make that work.
Yes. This isn't something that you just grab your dog and go do. This is hundreds of hours of training, knowing your dog, ensuring your dog is going to stay safe from the deer, safe from other hunters, safe from roadways. There's so many things that come into play with a dog off leash that's very dangerous. End of the day, my dog is no different than my children. They're my family. I want my dog home every night with me. And there's not a single time I want to put my dog in harm's way. So as an off-leash handler that I am now, I will say the advantages is clear to run off-leash versus being on-leash. Our recovery rates have gone up. The dog is able to work the scent trail naturally. And in watching a dog off-leash, I've learned how the scent has moved and is not where we think it is. We see blood hypothetically on this deer run, but my dog is 20, 30 feet to the left, still following that scent trail because the scent cone has shifted through humidity for multiple reasons.
Hang on, Rob. This is fascinating. I want to follow up on this, but we got to take a break. We're talking with Rob Miller. You can find him on Facebook, Miller Deer Tracking on Facebook, Miller Deer Tracking on Facebook. Put that information in your phone right now in case you need Rob or another tracker later in the season. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold. That's WCBY 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT 600 AM, 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class, and he can help you become a licensed charter captain as well. Check out the website, pmtcaptains.com, for more info. That's pmtcaptains.com. John has classes across the state, and I'm sure you can find one that fits your schedule. That's pmtcaptains.com. Right now we're talking with Rob Miller, the guy who, in my opinion, pioneered the concept of using tracking dogs to recover whitetails. You can find him on Facebook at Miller Deer Tracking. That's Miller Deer Tracking on Facebook. Rob, before the break, you mentioned the word controversy. I do want to follow up on this, and I'm not looking to instill or promote controversy in our outdoor world at all. But there are some people, whenever I make a post or talk about using a tracking dog to recover a wounded animal, they say, "Oh, if you were a good hunter, you'd never need a tracking dog in the first place. You're taking the easy way out." I know you've heard that. What's your response?
My response is I believe most of the calls that we get are honest, ethical hunters. And that's why they're reaching out for dogs, because they want to do everything possible to recover that whitetail. Anything can happen in the woods. We don't always see the branch. We don't always expect the movement. We maybe miss the judgment. A lot of times when hunters are hunting, it's a mistake. We all make mistakes on a daily basis. It's the ones that realize they made a mistake. They do the honorable thing of, let's do everything possible to recover deer. They've learned how valuable dogs are, so they're executing that. So anyone that wants to belittle another human for correcting their mistake, shame on them. In a lot of cases, we're tracking. I mean, Mike, I've tracked double lung shot deer 400 yards, and they really didn't bleed for 200 or half of it. There's you got the hide that can slide and shift, covered in holes. You maybe only have an entrance hole, no exit hole, so the entrance hole is higher if you're hunting from an elevated stand. There's multiple reasons why a human cannot follow a blood trail, and the shot's actually a good shot. So not everything's a bad shot. Sometimes there are bad shots, and that happens. We're here to help those people, and all we can do is come out and do our best when we're asked to be helped.
When should a hunter call in a tracker and a dog, and what should we do in preparation or not do to screw things up?
I've been telling everybody this right now. Season's getting ready to get started. There's a couple tracking lists out there. Get on social media, Google search, whatever you need to do. Find the tracker in your area. Reach out to them, introduce yourself, and find out what that tracker wants you to do. Find out if that tracker charges or not. Maybe they don't, maybe they do. Maybe you need to start saving some money. Figure out ahead of time a plan, so when you do make that shot, right then, wow, this may get tough. Right then, you're already started in the right process of recovering that whitetail. If you can set that tracker up for success, you're also going to be successful. Now, it's always best to use a dog before multiple people. Do not blow up the scent trail with multiple friends out there, maybe smoking, maybe drinking, just multiple people with multiple boots going on the ground. There's multiple things you can do to make it harder for that canine. So use a canine first. If the canine's unsuccessful and you still feel like your deer is somewhere, you can then maybe call another tracker, or at that time do the grid search. But use the dog first before a grid search. We can track up to a day later in most cases. We can track in most cases after a rainfall. So a lot of hunters panic, and there's no need for panic as long as we're all educated and contacting your tracker sooner than later.
I guess I believe if a good dog can't find the animal, I don't think I, as a person, am going to find it.
Yeah, I agree with you, but there's still people feel like their shot is lethal and the dog failed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, okay, and I get that. Now, yeah. I guess I'm going to assume if I'm going to call a guy or a woman, if I'm going to call somebody at 10 o'clock at night and ask them to drive a half hour or an hour or whatever where I am and spend their night tromping through the woods, I expect that I should pay them, Rob.
And a lot of times that's true. There is trackers that are financially set in life. They are possibly retired. And they truly do this out of the passion of their own heart, and they do not charge. They'll come middle of the night. They'll drive 3-4 hours. But in most cases, Mike, I would say 98% of the trackers are going to ask a fee of some sort. If it's a show-up fee, add in a recovery fee or a set fee or an hourly fee. There's so many. I mean, I know 60-some trackers, and they all have their own ideology on how they want to be compensated for their efforts.
Well, and peace of mind. All right, let me back up. If you've truly got a trophy animal down, you can't put a cost on that. But on the other hand, I'm going to say if you shot a big doe, any animal that you felt was enough of a trophy for you to let a bullet or an arrow fly, that animal has value. I think you owe it to that animal to do everything you can. And if it costs you a few bucks, then, and even if you don't recover it, you got the peace of mind of knowing that it wasn't a fatal hit.
I agree. And I have a thing that I started last year. It's called donation. Anyone that shoots a doe that's in my core area, Livingston County, Genesee County, Shiawassee, Oakland, make a donation and I'll come track your doe. Because I put value on the animal's life. I have a tool that can recover that whitetail and not let it go to the coyotes and things like that, which they all have to eat too. I get that. But if you made that shot and I can come help you, and I'm able to come help you, I'm going to come help you off a donation.
Wow.
That also allows that hunter to use that tag. I mean, if guys are out there just shooting multiple deer and they're randomly dying and they're not utilizing a service to recover the deer, that's not good for our state. That's not good for our deer population. So if the guy's pulling a tag, we really need that tag punch and harvest that whitetail. And I'm here to do that to help them.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So what have you learned, Rob? You started to talk about this before we had to take a break. What have you learned over your years of doing this?
What I've learned is an off-leash dog is a more accurate dog, and our recovery rates are going up. I've also learned that an off-leash dog has taught me that white-tailed does are the smartest deer in the woods. They navigate the terrain much different than our bucks do, and they're more difficult for our dogs to track as a whole. That's what I've learned with the off-leash tracking. Secondly, I've learned with the off-leash tracking is we have a lot of crippled deer through firearm season, and a lot of deer are suffering and are dying a miserable death, which just makes me lose sleep at night. So with the off-leash going on here, we're able to end suffering on a lot of these crippled deer that are unfortunately has happened. Tags are being filled more often, so less deer are being wounded. And with shows like you, social media, we have 60, 70, 80 trackers now in the state of Michigan, and more hunters are utilizing dogs, more deer are being recovered, less deer are suffering, and as a whole, it's a win for our hunting community.
I completely agree with you that every hunter strives and wants to and prays for a quick, clean, humane killing shot. Sometimes it doesn't happen. And I don't mean to throw one group of hunters under the bus, but do you, sometimes hardcore gun hunters will say, you know what, keep the bow hunters out of the woods because they're just doing nothing but crippling animals. Have you seen that to be the case?
Yeah. I'll be very blunt. This is a very clear statement. We track more deer during gun season than we do bow season.
Is it because there are more gun hunters out there, though?
I really, you're probably not, you're going to find this shocking. I really think that transition to that 350 and 450 rifles is crippling more deer than ever because the rounds are hitting the shoulders and fragmenting and just breaking the shoulder instead of going through and humanely and quickly killing these deer. Come gun season, it's every day. It's a broken leg, and it's the 450, 350. And a lot of it's the ammo that they're choosing to shoot. It's also these guns are very accurate, so these hunters have great confidence of shooting beyond that gun's effective range. Yeah, you can shoot 250 yards with that gun, but that bullet has no power at that distance. You're only going to cripple that deer in most cases. Yes, I know there's guys killing deer at 400 yards with it. I get it, but if you sat on my end and seen the phone calls coming through, you might scratch your head at using that gun again in the future.
Wow. And if you are going to, so what are you saying? If you're going to use a 450 or 350, forget the shoulder shot and go for a lung shot like you would with a bow?
Exactly. You have to make sure a good, clean lung shot. Do not try to drop that deer in its tracks for a quick kill. Your odds are 50-50 in my opinion.
Well, that's excellent to know. I appreciate that.
Yes,
what else, Rob? You said, find your tracker ahead of time. Is there these lists that we should go to? Should we go to these things? I mean, do you trust these lists? Let me rephrase. If you see somebody's name on the internet as being a tracker, can you trust that they are indeed a good, qualified tracker?
Well, you really put me in a hot spot, but I love being in a hot spot.
That's my job.
I can say this. Yes, the Michigan Deer Tracking Network is an organization I started. I can't remember if it's been 10 years, whatever now. Every tracker on the Michigan Deer Tracking Network is vetted. Means we've tested them. They have years of experience. They have a certain amount of true recoveries, not just their buddies' recoveries. And we actually have removed trackers from this list. Our list actually shrunk to ensure our trackers are vetted. Now there's another list out there. There is a lot of the network guys are on that list. There's a lot of great trackers on the list. There's a lot of new trackers on the list. And I don't want to discredit a new team. Like, we need new teams. They're out there learning. And I hope they're just honest when they call them, hey, I'm new. This is my first year. Here's the problems that may come up. Work with me. It's all good. In most cases, a dog is better than 5 humans any time of the week. So I would like to say everyone's trustworthy, but as a whole, we can't control what everybody does.
And people have to learn, right? I get it. So people have to learn. But your Facebook page is Miller Deer Tracking on Facebook. And just to be clear, the group that you really recommend is Michigan Deer Tracking Network. Is that the case, Rob?
There's 43 trackers, and they're all vetted by a panel of admins.
All right. Appreciate that, Rob. Got to let you go. Rob Miller, the guy who pioneered the use of tracking dogs here in Michigan. If you are in Rob's core area and you're looking for a tracker, I don't think you can do any better, but there are lots of great trackers across the state. We'll take a break. When we come back, Chad Fedewa of the DNR talking about our Michigan deer herd and probably our most recent, elk herd and our most recent elk hunt as well here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM, 1380 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on WKNW, 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and just a great group of people. I always say that. A wonderful location, wonderful facilities, wonderful people. What more could you ask? And the fall fishing on Saginaw Bay is going to start heating up. The perch action has been not too bad. And look at it, if you're done fishing for the year, and you're looking for storage, or you're looking for winterization, the folks at Linwood Beach can help you out there as well. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Let's see. So far, we've talked a little fishing in this week's show. We've talked a little hunting in this week's show. Why don't we talk about maybe a little elk hunting? You know, we've got a wonderful elk herd, and every year a few select people are chosen to be a part of that harvest, to control that elk herd. Chad Fedewa is a biologist with the Michigan DNR. We've talked with him before, and he's back with us now on the phone line. Chad, welcome back. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Always a pleasure. Listen, let's talk a little elk this time around. And I think we just wrapped up the first season of the elk hunter. Is that still going on?
Yeah, so the first hunt period is actually 12 days total, but there are 3 separate 4-day hunt periods. So the first one was that last week in August. Another hunt period coming up September 13th through the 16th, and then September 27th through the 30th for the early hunt period.
So if you draw a tag, can you hunt all 3 of those periods?
So yeah, if you are drawn for that early hunt period, you can hunt any one of those periods. Yep.
I would think what would be the best one? I mean, when are the animals bugling? Is that happening right now?
Yeah, I think it'll be coming up here more closer as we get further into the fall. Probably a little more action that way.
That's got to be quite a thing to see and be a part of.
Yeah, it's a pretty big, tourism draw for folks who don't hunt and who just want to view elk as well. It's a pretty popular activity.
Chad, where would somebody go? Somebody coming up from downstate or coming down from up above. Where would you go to see these big, beautiful, majestic animals?
So the Pigeon River State Forest is kind of the sort of central area where the major elk herd is. But really anywhere northeast lower peninsula, elk do range out from that central area as well. So, you could certainly check with some local staff and, even local guides or local businesses. They probably have a pretty good read on where some of those elk are hanging out any given time of year.
And the fact that these animals do wander away from Pigeon River, that's part of the reason for having a hunt, right? I mean, you got to control the population. To keep a healthy population, you got to control the population.
Correct. So, one of the main goals is to manage that herd in conjunction with the available habitat. So, hunting is that primary management tool, and this early hunt period actually is for those zones that are kind of outside the core elk range. So, where those elk are kind of naturally expanding, this early hunt period is designed to target those areas where the elk are starting to expand out a little bit to try to manage that a little bit.
Well, if you think of how much damage deer can do to a farm field, elk has got to be exponentially more.
Yeah, it has been a concern in some local areas for farmers that do sustain some crop damage and also forest regeneration as well. So, obviously they're browsing on, a lot of regrowth in these forested areas. So, hunting is, designed to kind of maintain that population within a certain range to, be in conjunction with the available habitat.
Well, and when we're talking about ag areas, can I assume that elk really don't care too much about a barbed wire fence?
That's a good question. I wouldn't think they would, but I don't know, to be honest with you.
I've heard stories that they really don't care sometimes. But what a big, beautiful, majestic animal to see. I mean, you've been up close to these things. You've had a chance to work with these things. How big do they get, a big bull?
Yeah, you can get a big bull, up to 800 pounds, and it's going to vary, obviously, depending on the age of the animal. But, it's nothing to be over 500 pounds for an adult animal.
And they're coming into their mating season, the bugling season. They've got harems. They're going to run around a tract. I mean, try to corral these cows. What a thing to see! Yeah,
it's a pretty cool opportunity that we have here in Michigan. yeah, if people haven't been up in that area to witness it, it's worth the trip.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. Chad, always a pleasure. I'm sure we'll talk again soon, and stay in touch.
All right. Thank you.
Chad Fedewa of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. Again, as Chad said, if you haven't seen our Michigan elk herd, if you haven't had a chance to see these animals in the fall, it is very, very impressive. Coming up after the break here, this week's Ask Avery segment, I got a couple of directions I can go. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about elk. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit something else. But again, if you haven't seen the elk, you need to get up there to the Pigeon River Forest. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back to this week's Ask Avery segment, as I say, I could go a couple of different directions. And then in our third hour, I know the direction we're taking there. We're going to talk about bear hunting with hounds with Jerod Gashe of Poor Boys Guide Service. And you know we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Tawas twice each weekend, in fact, on WIOS, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. You can hear us down in St. Joe on WSJM, 94.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ, 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoors men and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Now, the way this segment works, you know this by now, but if you're a new listener, I will bring you up to speed very briefly. If you have a question that you would like addressed or answered, or a topic or a concept here on the show, you can send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Maybe it's something you want me to address directly. Maybe it's something you want me to pass along to the folks at MUCC or DNR. Maybe somebody I have access to that you don't. Please don't send them to me in a social media message. If I see it, I will respond, but there's a good chance I won't see it. Just send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. This week's question is a result, and it's a result of several different questions and comments and statements I saw as a result of a post that I put out there about the unveiling of the Fred Bear statue in Grayling. I said in the first hour, I don't think I've ever really had anything go viral, and I don't know if this is truly the definition of viral, but it ended up in like 24 hours getting almost 2 million views, 1,000 comments, 26,000 likes. I mean, I feel like it kind of went viral, and it was a 20-second video of the unveiling of the Fred Bear statue. A lot of those comments were like, well, was Uncle Ted there? Or why was Ted Nugent? Why was Nugent there? And it was like, why is Ted Nugent trying to capitalize on this? You know, this is about Fred Bear. This isn't about Ted Nugent. So I do feel compelled to address that. Ted and Fred were friends. And you might say, well, that's I don't believe that. I saw that with my own eyes. I was at the Grouse Haven Bear Archery Camp interviewing Fred Bear. Fred Bear is sitting across a picnic table from me. My mentor, Pete Jonas, is over my shoulder with a video camera, a TV camera, recording the interview. I'm having this, and I'm a young guy, in my early 30s at this point, and I'm interviewing a living legend. As we're doing this conversation, I hear this noise coming down the dirt road coming into Grouse Haven. I don't think anything of it. I think, oh, somebody's coming into the camp. As the vehicle is getting closer, and I don't remember specifically what kind of vehicle it was at this point. I have it narrowed down to 2, but it was making a lot of noise. There was some loud music coming out of it, and it's coming down the road fast. I'm interviewing Fred Bear on camera, on videotape. The noise coming down the road is getting to be loud enough that it's starting to interfere with the audio. Now, I'm not happy at this point because I have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to capture this interview with Fred Bear. This vehicle comes down this road. It's getting closer. Now I can hear it, like over the sound of Fred Bear's comments. I'm kind of mad. Not kind of mad. I'm really mad. The vehicle comes flying down this 2-track. It comes to a screeching halt in the gravel about 50 feet from us. It throws this big cloud of dust across the whole table, everything, and now I'm steaming. I am hot. Out of this vehicle jumps this tall, skinny, long-haired guy. I look at Fred Bear. Fred Bear says, "Ted Nugent, my friend, how have you been?" Ted Nugent walks over, gives Fred Bear a big hug, and says, "Fred Bear, my brother, I love you." So I know that this is legitimate. I saw this with my own eyes. This is not just hype. This is not just Nugent trying to capitalize on an archery legend. This was a real situation. So I had the opportunity to get the interview, a couple of them, with Fred Bear. I also worked pretty closely with Nugent for a lot of years. In fact, at one time I thought about leaving my job in television news and going to work with Nugent. The first television show, the first outdoor television show that Ted Nugent ever did, I produced, edited, and co-hosted it. I haven't posted that anywhere. I probably should, but that was a real thing. So then Nugent, a few years later, after Fred died, comes out with this song called Fred Bear. And when I heard this, I thought, oh, this is wonderful. So I get in touch with Ted. He's living in Jackson at the time. I said, "Can we come down to the house and shoot some video of you and do an interview about the Fred Bear song?" So I took my interview and my video of Fred Bear, my interview and my video of Ted Nugent talking about Fred Bear and about that song. A video guy, Rick Mixter, did a wonderful job in shooting the video, edited this whole thing together over the song of Fred Bear, and I think it's one of the best pieces I've ever done. You can go to YouTube and just do a search for Ted and Fred, and you can see what I'm talking about. So this is all legit. So did Nugent have a right to be there at the unveiling of the Fred Bear statue? You bet he did. He did the Star Spangled Banner, and it was pretty darn cool, and he sang Fred Bear, and it was pretty darn cool. So yeah, it's all legit. Regardless of what you think of Nugent, you can't belittle the relationship and the friendship and the mutual respect between Fred Bear and Ted Nugent. It's the real deal. Big thanks to the folks at Security Credit Union for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Just a couple of stories there from an old guy. Hounds and Bears coming up in Hour 3 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Yes, indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this weekend's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And man, we are into it now, aren't we? I mean, really, the fall hunting season has pretty much, this weekend as you're listening to the show, it's pretty much, well, it's on. The youth hunt, the Liberty hunt, bear season, small game opens just around the corner, early goose is open, teal season's open. Man, all kinds of things going on. There's some great fall fishing coming up as the water temperatures continue to drop. The fishing will get nothing but better, and I would love to have you share your outdoor adventures with me. Please send me a picture, send me video, email it to me is the best way to get it to me, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I do not have a youth hunter in the woods this year for the first time in several years. My youngest grandkids are too old now. Too old for the youth hunt, but I wish all the youth hunters well. And again, especially the youth hunters, if you want to share their pictures, I'd love to see it. Send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Please, 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 will you just take a minute, though, and put the deer's tongue back in its mouth before you send me the picture? I will post it. If you send me an otherwise beautiful picture, perfectly exposed, perfectly framed, with a beautiful background, a smiling kid and a nice deer, buck or doe, and the tongue's hanging out, I'll post it. But it'll hurt me. I've seen too many wonderful deer or bear pictures over the years ruined because the tongue was hanging out of the mouth. Please, it makes us as hunters look foolish. It makes us look like cartoon characters, like Elmer Fudd. Put the animal's tongue back in the mouth, please. I personally am pretty excited for my bear hunt coming up the 25th. I will be hunting the Newberry district of the UP with the bear whisperer, Johnny Bowler. I will be hunting over bait. That's the only way I've ever hunted bears. I love hunting bears over bait. I love the interaction. I love the solitude. I love the waiting the bears out. I love the fact that you can sit there and wonder if one is coming in. Then it comes in, you can judge the size of it. For the first time, I hope to take a bear with a gun. Now, I've taken a lot of bears, but I've taken every one of them with archery tackle, recurve, compound, or crossbow. This time, I'm going to be hunting with my Brenton 350 Legend. I've never taken a Michigan bear yet. I just feel like it would be really cool to take my first Michigan bear with a Michigan-made gun, hence the Brenton 350. I have not hunted bears with dogs, with hounds. I have much respect for those people. I love the history and tradition of what they're doing. I love the camaraderie, the fellowship. I love the interaction with the dogs. I love everything about it. I have much respect for those people, including Jerod Gashe of Poor Boys Guide Service. And Jerod's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line to talk a little bit more about hound hunting here in Michigan. Jerod, welcome back to the show. How have you been, buddy?
Good. How you been, Mike?
I've been doing just great. I mean, it's a great time of year, right? But you guys are out there now. Let's see. You were able to start training dogs back in the summer, but the actual hound hunting season now doesn't start up for what, a few more days yet?
Yeah, Monday.
Okay, so
Yep.
so the people who started on the 11th, they got a few days without the hound hunters out there, and then you guys jump back into it full swing.
Yep.
So tell me about hunting with dogs, hunting with hounds. How did you get into this, Jerod?
My dad. I've been hound hunting as long as I can remember. He had hounds. Started with coon hounds, but when I was really young, I couldn't even tell you what age. He transitioned over into big game hunting, bear and bobcat and coyote, and been doing it ever since.
Do you? Forgive me, stupid question. Could I use the same dogs to hunt coons as I would for bears, or is it a whole different deal?
You can. I mean, if you're like the competition coon guys, though, that's a whole different thing. You're totally different style dog. Guys that are just pleasure hunting, the weekend guy that wants to go out and tree a few coon and listen to the dogs run, you could use the same dogs.
So what are you running on bears? Big long-legged walkers or something for bears?
You can. We run. My dad and I run blue ticks. We have one guy that hunts with us that runs walkers. But we just. We run hounds that have been bred for 40, 50 years. Different guys around the state and that have been bred for big game hunting. That have ran bear and bobcat.
What are you looking for in a bear dog?
A little bit of crazy. Yeah, I mean, you got to have a dog that'll. I mean, in the summertime we target small bears to get dogs in shape. Ones that want to run. You don't want to get into a big mean bear that wants to sit down and fight or anything like that. So, and then, so you got to have a dog that's got a good nose, can tree, but then you also need one that's got some grit to it. It's got to be able to stay if a bear does decide to stay on the ground and walk, with the dogs. So.
You say you want to target a certain size bear. How do you do that, Jerod?
So we check roads, and typically in the summertime we turn loose on just a small track. You can kind of judge a little bit by their feet. Your sows will have a small footprint with small toes, and your boars will have a lot bigger footprint with bigger, like nickel to quarter size toes.
And then when the hunting season starts again up here, well, as folks are hearing this, real soon now, how do you get started? Are you still this time of year you're running the 2 tracks looking for tracks?
We do that, and we also have baits out, with cameras on them. So that gives us our baits, with cameras. Then you can tell, you can judge off the size that way. And obviously in the actual kill season, we try to target the biggest bears that we can. So we switch from running small ones in the summertime to whatever the biggest one is we have that day.
One of the things I think about that's cool about hunting bears with hounds is it's the only type of hunting I know of where you could actually do what you could call catch and release.
Yep. Yeah, we definitely let a lot more go than we ever take every year. You run. Well, I run every weekend. My dad fortunately gets to run a little bit more since he's retired now, but he, say for 2 months of training, he probably was out hunting close to 50 days. Minus a few weather days and some other stuff, and didn't necessarily have a race every one of those days, but over half of those probably he had races and where you're running a bear. So that's potentially easy math, 25 bears that were ran and let go, and then come the actual harvest season, then obviously once we get them. You can tell a little bit by their track, and then obviously the camera size, but it's nice to actually lay eyes on them in person and be able to judge them that way. If it's something big enough that either the hunter or ourselves want to take, or, then we can go that route. If not, we can let it go and move on to finding a bigger one.
Is it hard on the bear? Does it stress a bear to be run by dogs?
I don't think so. Maybe a little bit. If you had like one, or if you had a real low bear numbers in an area, and and a ton of people hunting that area, and it was getting run repeatedly over and over and over again, I could see where that could be, but I don't think it's any different than like fishing, where you catch fish and release it and it goes back and lives its life, and as long as hunters are smart about it, and you're not, if you're pushing a bear too hard, you're probably pushing your dogs too hard as well.
Gotcha. We're talking with Jerod Gashe of Poor Boys Guide Service. You can find him on Facebook as Facebook Poor Boys Guide Service. We're talking about hunting bears with hounds. Now, I am a hardcore bear hunter, but all of my hunting has been over bait. I have never been involved in a hound hunt yet. I've been invited by these guys 100 times, just haven't had the opportunity to take them up on it. But I do understand it. I do think it's pretty cool. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, more with Jerod on the logistics of hunting with hounds, and more. And then, of course, we'll wrap up this week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. And you can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine, well, the company that makes this sound right here. Do I need to repeat that? What is that sound? Have you heard that before? That is the sound of my Rapid River knife locking back in place. I just pulled it out of my pocket. This one is one of 3 Rapid River knives that I have now, 2 of the standard size Uper folders and one of the minis, and you know, there will be more. I think a knife is one of the most valuable tools somebody who loves the outdoors can have. I use this every day. I pull it out of my pocket. I use it literally every day. Sometimes for more important jobs, sometimes for just cutting packages open, or, you know, packing tape or whatever. But it's always there. It's always sharp. And I know with a Rapid River knife, it's guaranteed for life. I would encourage you, if you can, to stop by their showroom on US 2, just east of Rapid River. Check it out. It is a destination. It is honestly worth the drive. I don't care where you are in Michigan, it's worth a drive. If you can't make it up there, go to their website. Their new website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. You will see what I mean. If you use the promo code Avery10, either on the website or in person, you'll get 10% off on your order. How cool is that? Handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, guaranteed for life. If you ever have a problem with them, you ship them back, take it back. They'll fix it or replace it. They'll refurbish your knife. They'll resharpen it. How cool is that? RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. While you are online, I would encourage you to check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I'm also on Facebook. Then go over, if you're on Facebook, go over to Poor Boys Guide Service. That's the guide service of Jerod Gashe. And we're talking with Jerod about hound hunting for bear. So, Jerod, walk me through a race. Walk me through a hunt. You go out in the morning, you find a track, and then what happens?
What we typically do, we turn a couple dogs loose. Most guys that have a pack of hounds, they got a couple dogs that they consider what they call cold trailers. It's dogs, usually more experienced dogs. They turn loose and they will trail the bear and actually get it up and running. And then once it's up and running, you can give them a little help, feed a couple more dogs in, and then they'll run the bear. And either the summertime, obviously when we're training, you're not trying to kill a bear or anything like that. Just hoping to see it and have a good race and get some miles on the dogs, get them some exercise, and if it ends in a tree, that's a bonus. And then in the harvest season, we depending on the bear, if you're running a real big bear, a lot of times your bigger bears won't tree. They'll either walk and bay with the dogs, or or you can try harvesting them when they cross the road. So that's typically what we do for that. If they do tree, obviously that'll give you gives you some time to judge the bear. If it's something you want to take, then you can take it, and if not, take some pictures and walk the hounds out.
Do you know right away? Is it obvious if a bear is going to tree or not?
No, not necessarily. If a bear, if they get a bear up and running right away, and it's it goes right to walking and baying. You got probably a 50-50 chance that bear's going to tree. Some bears just won't. They just, in their mind, they would rather stay and face the dogs. And usually those are your bigger bear. We have ran into a few, over the years that were little tiny bears that would typically tree or just run like the wind, and for some reason they don't want to run at all. So I think bears are just like people. They all have their own personalities and different dispositions. So
then the ones that won't tree, when you say they bay, what does that mean?
So instead of running, they just walk. They'll either walk or they'll sit down and they'll actually try to run the dogs off. I mean, they'll actually charge the dogs, try to scatter the dogs. You know, they won't necessarily run like they're trying to get away. You know,
so they'll stand their ground. They'll stand their ground with the dogs.
Yep.
Well, that's got to be interesting for the hunters and the dogs.
It's definitely an adrenaline rush to get in there and be in, you know, hand-to-hand combat space with something that could take you out, you know. But over the years, I mean, I've been on hundreds and hundreds of bay ups, and thankfully, knock on wood, haven't had any, you know, human interaction where you get hurt or something. But you know, typically when the dogs are in there, they can for some reason they have like a sixth sense. They know when you're there, and they'll get in between you and the bear if the bear was to charge or something like that. But you know, in the summertime, we try to get the dogs off a bear like that as fast as we can, just so you don't get anything hurt.
What part of the state do you hunt, Jerod?
Typically central, north central, I guess. Up and around Houghton Lake and up by Grayling, and that's our main area that we run in.
And are there a bunch of bears in that part of the state?
Yes and no. It seems to go ebb and flow. I mean, some years it seems like you have a lot, and then the last couple of years and seemed pretty low, and this year it's still low. It was a fuzz better, but not what it's been in the past. We've had a lot better bear population number wise. You know, 5 to 10 years ago, it seemed to be a lot better.
Do you go up into the UP at all?
We haven't. I haven't since 2018. We had a wolf dog conflict up there, and one of our hunting buddies lost a dog to the wolves, and I have not been back since that happened.
And I don't blame you, but man, I feel like everybody I know, not everybody, a lot of the guys I know who run bears in the UP, they end up having an interaction, and usually not a good one, with a wolf, or more than one wolf.
Yep. Yeah, it was, I actually had to come home the day before it happened due to work. So I come home, and then the rest of the hunting group was still up there. And when it happened, and so luckily I wasn't there, but I did have a couple dogs that I had left, young dogs that I had left for my dad to run, and they were in on the race when it happened, but luckily those two got out of there. But yeah, it was, you know, it, especially for, I mean, you know, trying to work all week, and I only get weekends to hunt, and then you get a dog, you know, trained up and it's doing really good. It's a hard pill to swallow to lose one.
Oh yeah. What I told you I'm a bait hunter, right? But there's no secret, and I'm not trying to make something up or blow something out of proportion, but there's no secret that there has been some friction between bait hunters and hound hunters. What's that all about, Jerod?
You know, I see it every year. You know, it'll be good and quiet, and then, you know, once, you know, the baiting season starts, and usually for, you know, a little bit, week or so, a couple weeks, you don't have no issues, and then I'll start seeing it on Facebook, and I see bait hunters complaining about hound hunters running the bears off, and you know, it's like, we do the same thing. I mean, we have baits out, you know, as soon as we can start legally baiting, and we'll run bears off the baits. I've had a 15-20 mile race and have the bear be back on that bait that same night, same bear, you know. And it's like, I don't know, it sucks because we're all hunters. We all, you know, I have zero issue with bait hunters. You know, if whatever gets you in the woods, I'm for it. And it's hard, you know. as a hound hunter, I try to be as respectful as I can from people. And I see the stuff online where they're complaining, they put a bait in right next to mine, or they did this, or it's like, a lot of times I think a lot of that is completely coincidental. I don't think, I hope that hound hunters ain't, this guy's got a bait here, I'm going to put a bait right next to his.
Sure.
That's just unsportsmanlike, and I would hate to see that. I'm not saying that probably doesn't happen. There's rotten egg in every batch, but I don't know. It's hard. I mean, you get the same. It's probably not as bad, but guys that want baiting for deer back, and guys that don't, and guys that trophy hunt, and guys that meat hunt. And, it's
everything these days, right?
Everything, right? And as a sportsman, I try to stay away from that as much as I can, because I prefer, our hunting numbers are continually going down. And I would much prefer to see everybody get along. I mean, we're all on the same team.
Will you guys, I know a lot of hound hunters will do this. Will you and your crew, if somebody says, look, I want to learn more about this, will you take people out and show them what this is all about?
I encourage people to go, especially people that are apprehensive about hound hunting. Go find your local hound hunting guy and talk to him. Most of the guys I know are more than willing to help educate somebody that knows absolutely nothing about the sport. At least our side of the sport. And, we had a kid that we took here. It's probably been 6-7 years ago. It might have been longer than that. His parents were completely anti-hound. Like they had bait hunted bear. And they had tried getting him a bear. He suffered from cerebral palsy really bad, and his eyesight wasn't good. And so the bait stations and that, like, it was hard for him to see the bear.
Jerod, hang tight. Look, I got to take a break. Can you stick around for a little bit more?
Yep.
All right, I'd like to hear the rest of this story. I got to take a break. We're talking with Jerod Gashe of Poor Boys Guide Service on Facebook, and we'll let him come back and finish up the story right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee and WMLQ 97.7 FM. You can hear us in the Thumb in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in Saginaw on WSGW 790 AM 100.5 FM. I'm here in the studios of WSGW right now, but for these 3 hours, we call it the Outdoor Magazine Studio, and nobody's ever challenged me on it. This segment, I'm here with Charlie Rude, by the way, and Charlie, since it is a nice day, the crowds are building. Charlie. You might be able to hear him. If not, it's because this microphone is very directional. If I pointed the microphone at the door, you could hear him going, Charlie. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's our nature and our nurture, your nature. Let them create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. And this is the time of year where you're going to want some work done in the yard. You're going to want some fall cleanup, some fall pruning, getting ready for the season coming up that's going to be colder. Get your lawn and property ready for that season. And I won't even say what the name of that season is, but it starts with W, and it's usually cold, although not as cold the last few years as it has been in previous years. But you know what I'm talking about. And don't forget about the holiday containers. They can bring them right to your house. The website, readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. Right now, wrapping up a conversation with Jerod Gashe of Poor Boy Guide Service. Jerod, before the break, you were starting to tell me about this really cool hunt, and I just did not want to interrupt you. Let's hear the rest of it, please.
Yeah, so the young man that we took on a hunt, he has cerebral palsy, and he'd been on a few hunts where he was very unsuccessful. He trouble seeing, and like I said, his parents were anti-hound. I happened to meet him. He was a friend of a family member. Just happenstance that we came in contact with him, and had a bear tag. And I don't know I'm trying to think if it was his bear tag or one of his family members might have donated it to him. I'm not 100%. I don't remember. Regardless, he had a tag, and we offered to take him on a hunt, and he was with us, and we harvested, I want to say 1 or 2 bears that week before his. I know we harvested 2, but I think he was there for the 1. We were trying to get him that bear. It just didn't. It was a bear that wouldn't sit still or tree or nothing. We couldn't get him in on it because he gets around with a walker and stuff, so he's not super mobile trying to get in and out of the woods. But they were with us, and then got to see the whole hound hunting aspect, running baits and dragging roads and checking roads, and go to bed late, get up early, full day of work every day for the whole season. And then we were lucky enough we had a ton of other hunting buddies and stuff that were more than willing to put a hand in, and but they had some clients and friends and family that had bear tags and stuff. They were trying to get that stuff filled first, and it all kind of come together. I think Friday, the 5th or day of the season. I'm pretty sure he killed his on Friday or Saturday, but I think it was a Friday. I think it was the 5th day of the season. And everybody kind of got freed up, and we had a pretty good sized hunting party. Found a really nice bear track, and ended up putting it in a tree. Had a real nice race. Was able to get him due to an ORV trail. His dad and his uncle were out hunting with us as well, driving him around. And his uncle had a Polaris Ranger, and the bear ended up treeing like 30 yards off of an ORV trail. So we were able to drive him right basically to the tree. It was the best case scenario we could have asked for. Got him set up, and he made the shot and took a 320-pound dressed Michigan black bear. So he got a really nice bear out of it too. And you guys
made some friends there, didn't you?
Yes. Hunts like that are by far the coolest hunts I've ever been a part of in my life. Even more special than me taking my first anything. It's a really cool feeling to be able to give somebody that opportunity. And, like I said, his mom and dad were anti-dog. They were bait hunters through and through. They didn't really care for hound hunters. And after that, I remember having a conversation, with his mom on the phone. His dad was there, obviously, but, she was crying and so excited. And it was just a really cool experience. They were, I haven't heard from them in a couple of years, but they had said they were going to reach out to me if they ever, drew another Michigan tag, just to come. His dad and his uncle had an absolute blast. Wow. They hunted with us for like 3 or 4 days.
What a great story, Jerod. Listen, what a great story. I appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate you reaching out and doing everything you can to put hound hunting in a good light. Keep up the good work. I would send people to your Facebook page, Poor Boys Guide Service on Facebook, and you have a great season.
Hey, thanks. You too, Mike.
All right, Jerod Gashe of Poor Boys Guide Service. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. You know what? We should have had a bear recipe. I think he's got goose, but we'll do bear next week right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. Fast 3 hours. This week was a fast 3 hours, wasn't it, Charlie? Yeah, Charlie's like, yep. Charlie actually isn't even he's not paying attention, but yep, whatever you said, yep. So glad to have you along with us this week, and so glad to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. A big part of the Outdoor Magazine show. I've been working with this guy for a long time. I'm telling you what, to watch him in the kitchen is like watching an artist at work. The guy is just, he has so much knowledge, so much experience, and he loves to share that, and that's why he joins us each week here. David, welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. You know, we were driving around the other day, and there's geese everywhere, these cut fields and stuff. It's amazing.
Yep, that's why I want people to take as many as they legally can.
Right. I'm telling you what, there was one field that was a cut-over wheat field. I had to at least maybe 100, maybe more, maybe 150.
And that's what this local, that's what this early season is for, to thin out these local birds. And I say have at them. And then listen, just a heads up, I know you talked to Charlie. Since bear season's opening up, let's do a bear recipe next week too, okay?
You got it.
All right, let's hear this week's goose recipe.
So we have on page 88, it was a grilled duck breast recipe, but it substitutes for goose extremely well. We've done it both ways. I've cooked more goose than I have duck off of this recipe. So you need anywhere from 2 to 4 lobes, depending on how many people you're going to serve. And you probably can get between 1.5 and 2 people per goose. So you need between 1 and 2 cups of a good red wine. Where if you want a little sweeter dish, you can use port or Marsala. In Burgundy, Cabernet, Chianti, whatever you're going to be drinking with this meal, I would suggest to marinate it with it. You need a good splash of balsamic vinegar, 3 to 4 cloves of garlic smashed and diced quite fine, a medium onion diced fine, about a teaspoon of crushed black peppercorns. You want to take the bottom of a fry pan on your cutting board and smash them up so it breaks the flavor of those, because you want that flavor for this. 1/4 cup of toasted sesame seed oil, 1/4 cup of kikuman soy sauce. I like to use a little bit of salt in here, and you can use either kosher or sea salt, would give it a real nice flavor. 3 tablespoons of brown sugar to your liking, and you need go to a good grocery store and get sprigs of rosemary sticks, because you can buy them in a blister pack like that. So mix all the above ingredients except for the rosemary. And if you're going to use leaf rosemary, by all means throw some in there. Clean the meat of all fat, skin, feathers, and shot driven into the meat. And you can hold it up to a 100-watt light bulb and look in a darkened room, and you can see down any of the paths where the shot has traveled. So in a glass or ceramic dish, you want to put the meat in there, and then pour the marinade over it. And make sure it's covered real good with saran wrap. You can turn it 1 or 2 times during this overnight refrigeration. So you want to soak the rosemary sprigs in about a 1/4 cup of the liquid for an hour or so before grilling. Heat the barbecue to medium hot, and with a paper towel, soaked in a little bit of oil, take a tongs and season the grates, and then the meat won't stick to it. But you shouldn't have any trouble anyway. So, and then sprinkle the rosemary over the coals if you have a barbecue that's charcoal, or lay it over the part where the meat would go, and then you can actually smoke that up a little bit. And you only want to cook the medium to medium rare, pink and juicy. And the more rare you can enjoy the meat, the better off you're going to be, because the more you cook goose, the tougher it's going to get. So I would suggest more to medium rare to rare. And you can take some of the liquid that was left over, heat it up, strain it, and you can use it as a dipping sauce. Or you could put some of that down on the individual plates and set the meat on it. I would slice across the grain from the large part to this thinner part, and you slice it that way instead of the other way. You want to slice it across the grain to make it more tender, and the thinner you slice it, the better off you're going to be.
David, that sounds outstanding.
It is, man. We've made this for a lot of different parties.
All right, David, listen, I will wish you a good week, and I will look forward to next week checking in when we do a bear recipe.
Well, good. When's your season start?
Not for, I have the third season, so not for a couple of weeks yet.
Oh, okay. We can do a couple of bear recipes then.
Yeah,
like.
let's do that. No, let's do that, certainly. I will look forward to it. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Have a nice time up to West Branch.
Well, yes. I'm sorry you're not going to be there. Dave is talking about the Wednesday Night Live coming up this Wednesday night. We still have a few seats if you'd like to join us. I would encourage you. 989-343-0892 for reservations. 989-343-0892 for reservations. It won't cost you anything. Well, it doesn't cost you for a reservation. I like to think you're going to have dinner there because the Lumberjack has great food. 989-343-0892. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what's on your mind. Send me your pictures. Send me your videos. Mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Have a great week, and I will talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.